So today we're going to do the handover video on the Adria Coral S 680 ST. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side and opening up the passenger door, you'll notice here you have your tyre pressures which are in the door sill there, along with your fill up points for your diesel, just there. Coming up, you've then got blinds in the cab here, and to operate these all you need to do is push back and then lift up like so to enable the blind to completely concertina and connect up to this point here. You've got these on the two windows at the side along with the two front cabs here, blinds rather, here. And all you need to do with that is just pinch and that'll release it. These are fitted with a magnetic strip either side and will just connect together once you've pulled them out securely. Now putting them back, simply push that in and let it clip into place, and as you can see it's just locked in there. And as a rule of thumb, what I do tend to say, and this goes for anything in a motorhome, if it feels like it's being forced, you are doing something wrong, so just take a minute to reevaluate what you're doing. That typically is the case with these blinds and things like the cassettes, which I'll go into more detail later on. Whilst we're on the topic of the passenger side, you will notice that you've got your bonnet release catch, which is just here. Pull that to release the bonnet. I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to show you under the bonnet, just in terms of your hookup points, and also point out a couple of things to you. With the bonnet open, you can see that I've got access. Now underneath here rather, there's not many things that you need to know. The main things that you need to know is if you have a jump start in the vehicle. If that's the case, your positive point comes onto here, which as indicated by the cap with a little plus sign is underneath here. So flick that up. So positive onto there, and negative is just onto the little nipple at the front here. As I say, they're the main things that you need to know if you're jump starting the vehicle. But just to point out a couple more things, you've got your engine oil here along with your dipstick below that. You've then got your brake disc fluid, your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, and then finally your washer fluid, which is just there. Now moving on around the vehicle, you'll notice on this side you've got your awning, which is up at the top, which is a Fiamma F45S. You've then got your LPG gas tank underneath here as well, or locker rather, where the gas bottles can store. Gas bottles, as I say, will go into here, and you've got a regulator which will connect up to a pigtail connecting the gas bottle to the vehicle. The main thing with the gas is to make sure that the vehicle is always, that the gas bottles rather, are always turned off when the vehicle is in motion and driving. The only time you should have your gas bottles on is when you're on site and ready to use the vehicle. Next to that, you'll notice you've got your habitation door, which I've just opened up for you. And then either side, you have your fridge vents. Now your fridge vents, this is where the fridge pulls its air from and cools the fridge. Now as you can imagine, if it's a hot day and you have got the sun beating on this side of the vehicle, that's not going to do the fridge any favours. So if you can, try and keep this area under shade. I do that by using the awning. Now to operate the awning, you'll notice that you've got a little hook at the top there. You'll have an awning pole somewhere in the vehicle, it may be in the back, and that will connect onto that little hook. All you need to do then is wind it out, and wind it out the awning to a point that you can reach. You've then got two legs in the top of the awning which will flick out and rotate down. Unscrew them to let it take the weight of the awning and then tighten them into position. And then all you'll do is you'll angle the legs and wind the awning out bit by bit, and all you're doing there is walking the awning out. And obviously when you're putting it in, do the same. Now regarding the awning, obviously if it's a rainy day or if it's windy, you need to put the awning back in, because as you can appreciate, this is a massive sail which could potentially, if the wind gets underneath it, snap off, injuring someone or damaging your vehicle. So do bear that in mind. Be quite sensible with when you're using the awning. Now coming back, you've then got your Truma vent, which is just here. This is for your heating, and that in essence is your chimney. Next, you've then got your storage locker underneath here. That's underneath your French bed in the vehicle. So you've got a nice chunk of storage there. And the same again in the back here, which gives you a bit of upright storage. Now coming to the back, you've got a bike rack on this vehicle with two rails on here. And then along the back, you'll notice you got your cassette toilet, which is just here. Now for your cassette toilet, open that up, and then all you need to do is simply push up on the little handle and slide out to remove. Now when doing that, you need to make sure that the cassette toilet is that the blade on the toilet is closed to ensure that this will remove. If that isn't the case, what could happen is you'll come to remove this and this will get jammed and ultimately break. So do please make sure that that cassette toilet is closed when removing the system. I'll go into more depth on that when we're in the inside of the van. What I'll do now is I'll pull this cassette out and I'll show you how to empty it. Okie dokie, with the cassette out you can see that you've got a few elements to it. When emptying this, you need to, as I've done here, swing that orange arm out like so and remove the cap. Using that little orange button on the back, you need to then press that in and that will empty the cassette on the inside of the vehicle. That'll dump the water and allow it to flow out easily. Once you've done that, you can put a bit of water in there to swill it, and obviously at this point you can put your blue fluid or your toilet sachets in there just to clean the unit. You'll also notice at the midpoint you have got another orange switch. Now that is what makes contact with the blade, as I mentioned earlier. Don't do anything with that, that should stay in that position. When putting the cassette back in, line it back up like so, slide in until the little arm connects into position there, and then it's all locked in and you're good to go. Moving along and coming from the cassette toilet, in the middle here, underneath you'll notice you've got a pipe. This is for your wastewater tank. This will drain down your wastewater. Now your three main drain down points in the vehicle, you have a fresh water tank, a boiler drain down point, and also your wastewater drain down point. The wastewater, as you can see, is external to the vehicle. The other ones are internal, which I will of course show you. Now as you can see, you've got a little arm on there which is a grey handle. Turn that and that'll empty the tank. Now whilst we're in the topic of drain down points, what you will have is on site a huge grid that you'll drive over, dump the water there, or the majority of the water, and then what I recommend is when you're travelling home, keep all your drain down points, including your fresh water and your boiler drain down, all open, so then as you're travelling, the vibrations of the road will make sure that all that water is emptied and comes out in one steady flow. Coming next, you've then got your hookup point for your cable, which you're going to be using when you're on a 230 volt hookup site. And then last of all, on this side, opening this up, you've got your fill up point for your fresh water tank, which is just here. All you'll need to do is obviously unscrew this, get a food grade hose pipe, and put the food grade hose pipe into there to fill the vehicle up. Now that concludes the outside. Just do one final walk around of the vehicle, as you can see. And now we're going to move on to the inside to show you the systems on board. Now on the inside of the vehicle, as you open the habitation door and walk in, right at the top you've got your control panel. Now to talk you through your control panel, it's dead simple. You'll notice that you've got your green master button here. Click that button and as you can see that turns the entire unit off along with all your lights in the vehicle. Select that and as you can see your lights are back on. Next to this, you've then got a second button, and this will show you your vehicle battery and leisure battery values. At the moment, it's selected on vehicle battery, leisure battery rather, as you can see by the lights on here. Click that again, and that'll show you your level. Click again to your vehicle battery, and that'll show you your level for your vehicle battery. And then, as I say, click again, it'll show you, and it'll change over to leisure battery. Now across from here, you'll notice you've got a pump button. You've then got a few more buttons on this side. One is to indicate your fresh water, which is the first one, as you can see. And the second one, as lit up there, is your wastewater, as you can see. Next to that, if I click that button, which is right in the end, that was an option for a tank heater, which is redundant, so don't worry about that. And this is obviously where everything is controlled from. This is the majority of the time where you will be coming to. Now coming back onto the pump, as you click that, you can see that the pump turns on. Now firstly, you need to make sure that you turn the pump on, of course, when you've got water in the system. As soon as you've got water in the system and you're set up on site, click that pump on, and go to your all your taps, including your shower, and turn them on and turn them to hot. Now what that's going to do is it's going to pull fresh water from the freshwater tank into the system, pushing it through the boiler because we've switched it on hot first, and then out to your tap. It'll spurt and splutter, and then when it's running steadily, you've primed your system for your hot water. So dead simple. Once you've done that, flick it over to cold, do the exact same, and as I say, you need to do that for all of your taps, including your shower. The reason I do it on hot first is obviously your boiler isn't like instant hot water, so get it in the boiler first to let it prime the system, so then by the time you come to actually want some hot water, it should after half an hour or so, it should be getting up to temperature, so it should be ready for you. All right. Now the great thing with these is with your pump, you can leave your pump on, because on each of your taps you have a micro switch which will activate and deactivate the pump when it's necessary. The only thing you need to be aware of is to never run the pump without any water in the system, so just be wary about that. Now coming away from the control panel and into the kitchen area, you notice that you've got your hobs, so 3 hobs, which are a gas burner, along with an oven and grill below that. In here you've got your storage as well, as you can see just by pushing in the little latch to allow it to clasp. As you can see, you've got plenty of storage throughout. Coming back up and opposite the kitchen area, you'll notice that you've got your fridge, you've got your freezer up at the top and your fridge below. Now, personally, what I recommend is obviously your fridge is nothing like a domestic fridge, so it doesn't obviously take as much power. So because of that, it does a very good job at maintaining temperature, but it doesn't do the best of jobs at getting it down to temperature. Now, with that in mind, if you want frozen things in the freezer, put frozen things in, and if you want cooled things in the fridge, put cooled things in. It does a very good job, as I say, at maintaining temperature, so do bear that in mind. Now, this fridge, if I open it up, you can see from the top along here, you've got a few options. Now, this fridge is a 3-way fridge, which means that there's 3 ways to power it. You've got firstly the on button, which is at the top there, and then next to that you have a 230 volt plug, a gas symbol, which is like a little flame, and then a 12 volt symbol, which is in the form of a battery in this. So when you're going to be using it, you'll be selecting your hookup point for when you're on a site for a 230 volt, which will be 9 times out of 10. Next to that, you've then got your gas flame. You'll be selecting that when you're wild camping. And then finally, you've got your 12 volt leisure battery symbol, which you'll be selecting when you are travelling. Now, the great thing with this is you've got an A button, which stands for auto, which will automatically assign whichever fuel you have by default, which is a nice system. If you don't have that selected, and for example, if you have something that you've got a fuel that selected that you've not got, for example, so say if you try and run the fridge off gas, but you've no gas in the vehicle, because of that, you'll get an error code, or the fridge will start flashing. If you ever get that, you may need to come to here to reset the fridge. One thing is worth noting as well with this, a lot of people think that they can run the fridge off the 12 volt leisure battery as they're travelling. When they're wild camping rather. However, that isn't the case. You can only use your 12 volt leisure battery when you're travelling. The reason being is if you was to wild camp and allow this fridge to run off the 12 volt battery, you'll simply just burn your battery out because it just takes so much power. So with that in mind, it'll only allow you to run it off gas when wild camping. The only time you can run it off your 12 volt is with the engine running, because you've got a built-in alternator which will send power to your leisure battery, which will ultimately power your fridge. Finally, on this, you've then got a venting option along with temperature, which is alongside that. Now coming into the bedroom area, you can see that you've got your French bed here. Underneath this bed, if you lift it up like so, you've got access to the storage point, which is at the back, along with the door, as we've indicated on the outside, along with your boiler, which is just below here. I'll get onto the boiler in a minute, but before I do, you will also notice just above the bed, you have got some controls here. And this is, in essence, how you heat the vehicle. These are your controls for your boiler system. Now, this is a Truma combi boiler. It's a Combi E, and you can see you've got a couple of options, which are just here. So firstly, coming up to the top, you'll notice, it's quite hard to see on here, but you have got 2 little squiggles, then a small little squiggle, then the middle symbol, which is like a flame, and then the same below, just with some more little squiggles. And what that actually indicates is this top one is for your electric. This is, in essence, if you're on a site, you want to run the heating off electric, you do that by this top one. Now these two controls do the same thing, but as I say, this runs it off electric, this below will run it off your gas. Now firstly, come into your electric one, just to talk you through how to operate that. I'll just zoom in. You can see, if you wanted just to run your heating, leave it on the middle there, and this is for your vehicle heating, and that'll run it off your electric. If you wanted to purely run the water heating, so not heat the vehicle but instead heat the water, flick it up like so, flick it to that first little squiggle there. That basically means 1 kilowatt electric, so you're going to be heating the vehicle using 1 kilowatt electric. If you flick it up again, that'll flick it to 2 kilowatt electric, so basically increase the power that you're using to heat the water. And 9 times out of 10, you'll flick it onto your 2 kilowatt electric, because your heater is going to struggle in heating that water up on 1 kilowatt electric, so do bear that in mind. So that's just purely water heating, and as I say, this middle position here is purely just heating and does not heat the water. Now if you want to heat a combination of both off the electric, you can do. If you pop this down, you'll notice a little flame and one swiggle. That'll heat the vehicle, so the internal vehicle, and also heat the water on 1 kilowatt electric. And the same again below, the only difference being is it'll heat the water using 2 kilowatt electric and also do your heating. So depending on obviously which you want to do. As I've mentioned from the beginning, this system is run off the electric. You can do the exact same below and just off the gas. So if you're on site, you'll be using the top one, and if you're on a wild camping site, you'll be using this bottom one here. Now, to operate this, it's a very similar system. In the middle position, this indicates that it's off, as indicated by the L. Flicking this up, you can then flick it on to 40 or 60, and as you can see, as I've done that, it's lit up as it's engaging. The 40 represents 40 degrees and 60 degrees, depending on how hot you want the water. 40 degrees you're going to be using when you're having a shower, and 60 degrees you're going to be using when you're washing your pots and pans. And approximately up here with these two little squiggles, that's approximately how much they equal to as well. Now coming back down, as I say, that's just if you're running the water heating. If you want to do just your heating, flick it over to this little gas flame and that'll just do your vehicle heating. Or if you want to flick it onto a combination of both, using heating your water and heating the vehicle, you can do by the little sign there. As you've noticed, when I've been changing it, and flicking it through, you've got little lights which are popping up on here. This, through using this little dial, you can change the power output of the gas as well, depending on how hot you want the vehicle to be. So coming away from this, you'll also notice, as I say, you've got a big chunk of storage underneath the bed, but instead of lifting up the bed every time to drain down your boiler, your drain down point for your boiler is just located in here. We're moving on to the second drain down point here, and this is called a frost protection valve. So your wastewater is on the outside, your fresh water and boiler drain down is on the inside, and as I say, this is your boiler drain down. Before I talk about this, you will notice that you've got some red switches here. They're just simply isolator switches. Leave them as they are. Don't turn them, don't remove, as it says here. That is just simply for a technician when we are working on your vehicle. Now coming back down to the frost protection valve, as you can see, it's a really simple unit. The great thing with this is this reacts to temperature. So when the vehicle gets to a certain temperature, or where it recognises that it could begin to freeze the water, this system will dump all of its water to ensure that it doesn't get any frozen water in the boiler system, which is a really good thing. Now at the moment it's open. To close this, all you need to do is turn the diamond like so. So the black nib on the top has gone in, on the inside of the diamond, and then at the side, that little blue tab, all you need to do is push it in like so. And now that is sealed. So when you prime your system and prime the water for your heating, you can simply do that, and it's not going to pour out the vehicle. To open this, turn the little diamond. You can see that black nib pops up in the middle, and the blue tab comes out. Now, as I've mentioned, because this is a fail-safe, what might happen is this may trip when you're not using the vehicle. Obviously, when you're using the vehicle, it can't trip because you'll have the vehicle with heating on. But when you come to store the vehicle, naturally you're not using it, and if you forget to drain down the boiler, this will simply trip and it'll open up like this. Now, if you come to use the van and you've not used it for a while and you want to obviously close this, what may happen is you'll turn the diamond on the top and the black nib will go in, and then you'll push this little blue tab on the bottom and it'll keep pinging out. As I've mentioned, this reacts to temperature, and now what typically happens is once the vehicle's been in hibernation or it's been hasn't been used for a while due to the cold weather, it will not allow you to push this in due to that reason. With that in mind, what you then need to do is put your heating on, run your heating for half an hour, and yes, you can run your heating without water in the vehicle, so don't worry about that. And that will then allow you to push that blue tab in and seal the system. And as I say, that takes approximately half an hour. I'm going to leave that open for you like so. Moving up, you've then got in here your hanging space, which is a nice bit of storage, along with your aerial, which is just here. For your aerial, it's worth noting that this has been wired in, so you need your lights on for this aerial to operate. Once that is the case, you can then unscrew the top bolt there, push this large pole up, and then tighten it in position using that white bracket there. You'll then notice you've got a white arm on the bottom there, which will allow you to tilt the head of the aerial depending on whereabouts you are and to increase the signal. And you have got on this box here a green light to indicate that. Now, coming back, you've then got nice again a bit of storage here, as you can see, along with your bathroom area in the back. Now, the bathroom area, as I've discussed, you need to prime your system for both your taps and your shower. The main thing is your cassette toilet, as I've mentioned outside. Now, as I mentioned, you will have a blade on the toilet which will be underneath, and this is the blade, which is this silver fin here. To open the blade, or to open the cassette rather, pull the blade towards you and that'll open it. You need to only open this when you are using the cassette. That'll open the cassette and allow all your waste to drop down into the cassette. And once you've done that, press the blue button, which will activate your flush to flush the system. Now, once you've done that, as soon as you've finished using it, you need to shut the blade, and you do that for two reasons. The main reason is to stop any odours from escaping. The second reason is to get into the habit of that being closed, so when you come to remove the cassette, it's already closed and not going to jam. Now, coming back up to your flush, as I mentioned, your flush is just up here, indicated by the blue button. Click that blue button to flush it. You need to make sure that your pump is on for when you are using the flush. And it is worth noting, you will get a red light on here just to indicate when that cassette is full. Now, coming back into the lounge, you can see you've got your lounge here. You've got two travelling seats here, along with two swivel seats at the front, as you can see. The final drain down point in here is actually located underneath this bench sheet here, and this is for your fresh water tank. As I say, we've gone through your waste, we've gone through your boiler. Your final one is internal to the vehicle again, and that is your fresh water. What I'll do is I'll remove this now and show you how to operate that. One thing to note as well is just below me, you will notice you've got a small hatch here. This is a nice bit of storage that you can use for shoes and things. But I'll take this off now and show you how to drain down the final tank. So, with the seat off, you'll notice this panel, which I've just removed, along with the cap, which I've just removed, will gain you access to the fresh water tank, which is just below. You can remove that cap to obviously wipe it out and clean it. However, I wouldn't recommend drinking out of a fresh water tank. Now, in here, you'll also notice that I've got a little plastic piece here. How this works, and this allows it to seal and open the water tank, and this is how you drain down the tank. In the tank, it's quite hard to show you on the video, but you have a little hole in the middle of this tank. All you need to do is put your hand in, make connection with this little handle goes into the hole. Once it's got a grip and a bit of leverage, you can then turn this up. I'll pause that now and turn it up for you. As you can see, once it's turned up, it's in this position, and that'll allow you to drain the entire tank. Leave it like that for it to all drain, and then when you want to seal, push it back down, and as I say, that'll return to that prior position. And that's how you drain down the fresh water tank on the Adria. Now that concludes the handover video on the Adria Coral 680 ST. I hope you enjoyed.